My topic will be on the brain. The brain is a complex organ that controls thought, memory, emotion, touch, motor skills, vision, breathing, temperature, and hunger, and every process that regulate the body. It also divides into four different parts. The first one will be cerebrum, cerebellum, diaphragm, and the brainstem. The first one, the cerebrum, is the large part of the brain. It's divided into two hemispheres. The two hemispheres are separated by a groove called the great longitudinal fissure. The corpus cortex connects two hemispheres, helping the brain to deliver message from one to another. And each hemisphere has different lobes and function. The first lobe will be frontal lobe. It's a motor area and speech center. The second will be partial lobe. It's a sensory area. The next one is temporal lobe. It's auditory speech, comprehension, and the smell areas. And the last one that will be occipital lobe. That will be for the vision. The next part of the brain that's called cerebellum. The cerebellum is a little brain. It's a fist-sized portion of the brain that at the back of the head, below the temporal and occipital lobes, and above the brainstem. It also has two hemispheres. The outer portion contains neurons. And the inner areas is a help to communication with the cerebral cortex. This function is to coordinate rotary muscle movements and to maintain posture, balance, and equilibrium. The next one part of the brain is the brainstem. It's the middle of the brain. It connects the cerebellum with the spinal cord. It includes the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla. The midbrain is below center of the cerebellum. It has reflex center concerned with vision and hearing. The pons is between the midbrain and the medulla. It helps regulate respiration. The last one is from the brainstem is the medulla. It's between the pons and the spinal cord. It is recommending bodily activities such as high heart rate, breathing, blood flow, and other things. And also produce reflexive activities, sneezing, vomiting, coughing, and swallowing. And next one will be diencephalon. This one's between the cerebellum and the brainstem. It contains thalamus and the hypothalamus. Thalamus is a short sensory impulses and a direct impulse with the cerebral cortex. And hypothalamus is above the pituitary gland. It regulates body temperature, synchronizes sleep patterns, control hunger and thirst. It also played an important role in some aspects of memory and emotion. And the brain has the membranes, has 3 layers to protect the covering around the brain and the spinal cord. The 3 layers are, the first layer of the brain is called dura. The dura has the 2 layers. The posterior layer lies the inner dome, the skull, and the mini layer is below that. Space between that layer allows for the passage of wind and the artery that supplies blood flow to the brain. The next layer of the brain is called arachnoid, the middle layer. But this layer does not have nerves or blood vessel. Below below the acronoid is the cerebrospinal fluid. This fluid crushes the entire central nervous system and continually circulates this structure to remove impurities. The last layer of the brain is pia, is rich with veins and arteries. The blood supply to the brain. The verbal arteries and the choroid arteries are the blood vessels supply blood and oxygen to the brain. The external auditory arteries extend up to the side of the neck. The internal choroid artery branch into the skull and circulate blood into the front part of the brain. And the vertebral arteries follow the spinal column into the skull where they are joined together at the brainstem and form the basilar artery. They are supply blood to the rear portion of the brain. And the circular veils is a loop of blood vessel near the bottom of the brain that connects the most important artery. It circulates blood from the front of the brain to the back. It helps to the artery system communicate with one another. Alzheimer's disease is one of the genetic disease that demonstrates memory and mental function. This disease is ranked as 7 in the U.S. and the common cause of dementia among older adults. The main symptoms are memory loss and confusion. There is no cure except only medication and management strategy to temporarily improve symptoms. Another disease called Parkinson's disease is also degenerative disease and also disorder of the central nervous system that affect movement, often including tremors. Nervous cell damage in the brain causes dopamine level to drop. This disease always starts with a tremor with one hand, then it's slow movement, stiffness, and loss of balances. This disease is also no cure except only medication can help to control the symptoms. And also the last one disease that is on stroke is a blood flow to the brain. This causes brain tissue to become damaged to die. Or there are two major of stroke. The first one, the major will be ischemic stroke, occurs when blood clots or other particles block the brain. The second will be hemorrhagic stroke. It's one artery in the brain that leaks blood or rupture. The blood put too much pressure on the brain cell, which damages them. The last one is transient ischemic attack. It's different from the major type of stroke because blood flow to the brain is blocked for only a short time, usually no more than 5 minutes. That was my presentation.
Thank you.